Hey, Razor here from a Zombie Apocalypse Survival Camp. I get asked a lot, how's Razor Sharp keep his knives sharp? So I decided I'd do a little tutorial here and show you how I do it. Now I'll tell you that if you ask 10 different knife junkies how to keep a knife sharp, you'll get 10 different answers, maybe even 12. But so what I'm going to show you just how I do it. I like to try and keep things simple. More knives are ruined by sharpening than by using, because anytime you sharpen a knife you're actually removing metal from it. If you don't do it properly, you'll never get it sharp and you just keep wearing it away. Another thing is it's important to have a sharp knife. A dull knife you're more likely to get injured with, because a dull knife won't do what you're trying to do. You're trying to do your whittling cut something, it won't do it, so you put a lot more force into it, and that's when it slips and does something, and that's how people tend to get hurt. You keep a knife sharp and it will actually do what you want it to do. To start with, I suggest grabbing a junk kitchen knife. Go to a garage sale or a good secondhand store and pick up a couple cheap knives to practice with. The reason for that is you don't want to take your nice $100 knife and try sharpening it if you don't have any idea how, and end up making it worse than before it got dull. This is just a cheap kitchen knife I grabbed out of the kitchen. Now, 9 out of 10 times when a knife first becomes dull, it actually isn't dull. If you were to look straight down the edge of the knife with a microscope, what you would actually see is it looks like this. Well, most of the time what happens is you're butchering that deer, you're hitting the bones, whatever, that edge will bend over a little bit slightly, and then it won't cut real well. Well, you don't want to just grab something to sharpen it with right away, because all you're doing is removing more metal. That's why you have what's called a butcher steel, or a steel. This one's actually ceramic, and what this does is you take it and you run the knife about a 25-degree angle down both sides with just a little bit of pressure. Now what that does is it takes that edge that was rolled over and straightens it back up. Most of the time that's all it takes to get a knife back to good working order. Now if you do that enough, what eventually happens is that little edge will break off and the knife will be rounded. So you actually have to remove metal on it to put that angle back. Believe it or not, this is what I use 90% of the time. It's a Smith's. I think I got this at Walmart. It was $14. It has a coarse side and a fine side. I usually don't use the coarse side much. The fine side doesn't remove quite as much metal, and so if your knife just needs a little touch-up, that's what I go for. Hardest thing about learning to sharpen a knife freehand is to keep the knife at the same angle. What you do is you're actually drawing the knife down and away like you're trying to slice a little thin piece of the sharpener off. A lot of people go back and forth like this. Well, if you don't keep that angle exactly the same, as your knife rolls up and down, it'll roll that edge to a round spot. To keep that nice level, what I like to do is I do about 5 strokes on the same side. Now, it can be hard to hold this flat. When you put pressure on it, this wants to roll up and down, so I like to take it and put it down to a hard surface, like on the table or a log, so that it has some resistance behind it. Now I take the knife and I keep it the same angle and do about 4 or 5 strokes on one side. Then I flip it over and do the same. That kind of helps keep that same angle every time you draw it. Then I'll flip it over and just do 1 stroke on each side just to make sure there isn't a burr. That's usually enough to make that knife actually back to sharp enough to do whatever you're doing with. Now if a knife gets really dull, or it's been chopped into something and the edge is pretty well damaged, that's when you need to use the coarse side. The coarse side removes a lot more metal faster, so it's the exact same process, only it will take a lot more metal off faster. Once you've done that, then you flip it back over and use the fine side to get that edge back. There's different types of steels. This one's actually textured. I don't care for the textured ones, but they do pretty much the same thing. Now if you don't want to actually freehand with it, well, I forgot about this. This is a Smith's, or Work Sharp, not a Smith's. I got this I think for less than 20 bucks, and it has a coarse side and a fine side. It also has a ceramic rod on it and a leather strop. This also has these little guides that if you lay your knife blade on is actually 20 degrees. That takes away a lot of the guesswork on trying to keep that knife at the same angle. This is real handy. It's small enough to pack away, carry with your pack. Leather strap, you draw the knife backwards on it like this, and it helps clean that edge up and polish it a bit. Makes it, really brings out the razor sharpness. Now if you don't want to freehand or you're worried about damaging your knife, they do make these style of sharpeners. This one here is a Smith's. It has different textures of stones on it. What this does is it clamps to your knife handle. It uses guide rods on it to go through these slots. And that keeps your knife at the exact right angle. And all you do is draw it back, then you can just flip it over. Do the same on the other side. These cost a little bit more. I think this unit here is probably $30 or $40, but it puts a very professional edge on that doesn't take a whole lot of practice to get good at. It's a little bit cold out, my hands are getting cold. And the last thing that I have, I just got a piece of leather here. This I can hook onto a table and take that knife edge and draw it back and forth on it like this. All that's doing is polishing that edge really fine, getting any little burrs off of it. And I actually have a little bit of polishing compound on one side of this that really shines that edge up. I don't take all that in the field with me. Usually all I have in the field with me is this or this, which by the way, that actually fits in the handle, so it's real easy to pack, and because it has a handle on it, it's probably a little bit safer to use than some of the other ones that you have to hold in your hand. One thing I don't care for at all are these little ceramic sharpeners and metal sharpeners. Some of them have little metal carbide blades in there that take a lot of metal off fast, and they can, if you don't use them properly, they can put little nicks in your blade. I don't care for them. Those little ceramic ones, they work good the first few times you use them, but they start to dish out, and I think after a while they don't do much to actually get your knife sharpened back up. But that's all there really is to it. That's how I keep my knives sharp. Every knife I own, from my kitchen knives to my hawks, I can shave with, so that system works for me. You might find something else that works better for you, and by all means figure it out. Don't stick with anything that doesn't work for you. So, make sure you keep your knives and your skills razor sharp. Thanks for watching.